I changed some endings on some of my words. Okay, students are linguistically different culture to culture. We as teachers need to be equitably, I can't read your handwriting, equitably among students and their home language. Along with that, we must differentiate their instruction so they are college and career ready. I will do this by using the Common Core state standards and the love in my heart.
Good job. All right. Any other parent issues?
Let's go ahead. We didn't really follow your directions, but we did it together.
Okay.
So, it is important for teachers to validate students' linguistic abilities learned within their culture. It is equitable for teachers to affirm the home language by differentiating as needed to prepare them to be college and career ready by meeting all the Common Core standards.
Oh, good job.
You said differentiation before you said home language. I'm going to have to fail you.
Oh, wow. Look at you and your norms over there. You don't have some.
Didn't follow instructions.
Over there, okay.
Look at them checked now.
Okay, working in a school with diverse students who have different linguistic abilities can be challenging. Each one has a different culture, and it is our duty as educators to make sure students' opportunities are equitable. Some of the students may feel that their home language could hinder their learning, but with effective differentiation, as educators, we believe all students can be college and career ready, well versed in the Common Core standards.
Wow. Good job. Anyone else? So let's talk about this strategy. First, what type of characteristics that support cultural and linguistic teaching practices do we see employed with this specific strategy?
Oral rehearsal.
Oral rehearsal, yes. Let's go back to some of those characteristics.
Scaffolding collaborative tasks.
Yes, scaffolded tasks.
Student controlled discourse.
Yes. And think about how many standards you're addressing. Okay? Your vocabulary standards, several of those, as well as speaking and listening standards, right? What are some, thinking about your students, what are some modifications that you would make? Because that in itself, I would think starting at, just like that, third grade, I would feel comfortable. But thinking about students in maybe kindergarten, first, second, what are some things, I guess those teachers can speak to that. How would you change it up?
A lot less words.
A lot less words, yes. Pictures, exactly. And think about it. Do they have to have someone that's going to write? Or can they orally come up with the story? Can you do it together? They'll come up with the story as you're scribing, right? Yeah. Okay. So thinking about different ways that we can highlight vocabulary, and that could be something, even if you do it as a class, that can go into a center. And the strategy doesn't change, but if you have new words, once they know how to do it, they're going to do it, right? So here are the new words. So you can decide how to use it. But I think they just love the challenge. Once you say it's time, and you have to use the words in order, they love like when you put a competition to it. I don't know, it's just like whatever they do. And that's something else. When it comes to culturally responsive teaching, this is something I want you to know. Being culturally relevant, we looked at the definition. It isn't just about race or ethnicity. I tell people, being culturally relevant is being relevant. What is current right now? I used to take certain classroom practices, whatever was relevant going on, I would use that. With my middle school students, we do hashtag discussions. And I was telling a teacher about that. She was 4th grade. She was like, my kids love hashtag discussions. They write in response to reading now all the time in hashtags. And I was like, oh, I just thought for middle school. She said, no, they love it and they won't stop writing. When we took something that was relevant to students, right, made it interesting, she's still getting response to reading. I used to do writing with the stars. All of a sudden they want to write, because I called it writing with the stars instead of dancing with the stars. And they got to rate different pieces of writing. You guys hated it yesterday, but I just give it a new name. So think about those things. Okay, Biggest Loser. What's something that you could do that could be compared to Biggest Loser? I don't know. I'm just really throwing that out there. Like I have I don't know. That's my next thing. My Biggest Loser. What could I do? Biggest something. When you think about Shark Tank, people are presenting their ideas and they're trying to do what to those investors? Persuade. Okay. What if you had kids? That's the culminating piece is Shark Tank. Being culturally relevant and seeing what's really current right now and how can I embed that. I do that for journal writing. No one wants to write about their summer vacation or what they did over the weekend. You get the most engaging writing prompts, you're being really relevant. I would tell students, if you had to have dinner with a historical figure, who would it be? All of a sudden they're like, ooh, I get to write about, yep. If you're taking a trip, and you won the Powerball last night, you get to take a trip anywhere. Tell me where you're going and what you're gonna do. That's better than what did you do yesterday, okay? So you can make things relevant, just a little tweaking. There's a couple of books I can leave with you or titles I can share with you at the end that lead you to, so you don't have to just create these all on your own, but trust me, there are things that the kids will tell you. Just listening to them, like when checking in, you make your things culturally relevant because it's based on their interest. And that way you don't have to fight to get them motivated to do the work.
Kim, could you reference what you shared this morning about those two situations with teachers just taking something for, when you talked about Juan and jumping the fence and you talked about
Yes. Oh yeah.
the nappy here.
Yes. So we were going to move into identifying relevant complex text, so responsive text. So the next step for you guys is, if you haven't done it already, is to look at text that is responsive to the students that you serve. There's been a lot of support around this achievement gap, and that students never have, most of the time, they feel like they can't be successful because they've internalized, it's called internal oppression, they've internalized stereotypes about themselves. So as an African American, there are stereotypes about African Americans. So at a certain point, we hit a wall where we feel like we can't be successful. I don't see success within my culture because what I see all the time is what's on TV or on the news. So unless someone dispels those myths or shows me other examples, I'm going to internalize that and believe that I can't. And that has a lot to do with the students that we're supporting. And so I was talking with the group earlier this morning about selecting diverse responsive text. And I said, but be very careful because we have to make sure it's authentic representations. You really can use literature to help kids see positive examples of themselves, okay? There's a lot of resources out there about giving kids, like showing them families, African American families, with a mom and dad. I mean, that's fine, you need to see it, like showing positive representation. We talked about, so there's a couple of court cases you guys probably are familiar with. There's always like one a year, where teachers, a lot of times they're being intentional, because it's coming from a good place, but they kind of misfire. And we talked about Ed Helper. I don't know if it still exists, Ed Helper, the teacher site for like worksheets and stuff like that. There was a teacher who used a reading prompt. It was a homework assignment, gave it to the student, and it had something about Juan and another student. Okay, so like Juan and Jose were breaking into a house, and he kind of described the characters. So why was this? It was a third grade prompt, and a parent saw it and was offended. But why would this teacher, this is a prompt that's obviously racially insensitive. Why, it calls out these two names, and why do they have to be breaking into a house? Like, what does that have to do with a reading prompt for third grade? So anyway, that teacher ended up losing their job because his parent, of course, went to the school board. And I don't know the teacher's motivation, but I'm sure they probably didn't even read the prompt. It's two reasons. They weren't aware that that was offensive because they're not culturally self-aware, or it was like, I need a homework assignment, I'm printing this out, click, print, and let me make copies, right? So that's why we have to be intentional. The other one is a teacher in Brooklyn or Harlem. I think this really came from a good place, but it was a huge controversy. There's a book called Nappy Hair. There's several versions with like, I love my hair, nappy hair. And she read Nappy Hair, the kids loved it. She photocopied the book, gave them copies so they can read it at home. One of the moms got upset. It was a big deal. She got parents behind her to back her, and news media was at the school to the point where the teacher just decided not to come back. She felt so uncomfortable. And I think that came from a good place. I do remember a colleague and I talking about that, and she said, oh, I read that book all the time. I love it. Why would that be offensive? And I looked at the book, and I said, it's not the best look. Like, I know it says nappy hair. The book is about feeling positive about having kinky hair. But I told her, if I was in your class, that isn't the example of beauty we see. So I said, there are other books. And I shared with her some other titles. And she was like, but I like this book. I said, it's fine if your class, if your students receive it well, but I'm just going to tell you that I looked at the image and I thought, like, I'm not going to be like, ooh, I really want to look like that, whether or not my hair is kinky. I said, so we have to look at, we come from a good place, but is that a positive representation? Well, the kids love it when they see that. So I think that's where we need to be very mindful of the representations, even in our district curriculum. Like when they tell a story, who's absent? When they tell the story, especially about, I think it's 4th or 5th grade, I think, early American history, who is absent from the story? They make it seem like only one cultural group existed in America. It's like, yeah, there were other people here. Or they tell the story as if it was just one dominant culture, and then slaves came, and maybe they'll mention Native Americans somewhere in there, but the way that the story is told, that's what kids go into to school with. They go into high school with that notion. And so we want to be really intentional about seeking out the resources that tell the real story, but that they're authentic, and they're racially sensitive and not insensitive. So that's what we talked about earlier. Any questions about anything we've gone over today? Well, I appreciate being here with you guys. It's really an honor, honestly, to see you guys tackling this work. It's not easy saying we're going to aim and work towards closing the achievement gap and being committed to that. So kudos to all of you. I would like for you guys, I have a Twitter template at your tables, and I would like for you to respond to this prompt. I used to think and respond to that, and then now I think. And it doesn't have to be less than 140 characters. I'm not
After
typing.
your name.
I don't
Sorry.
get it. Yeah, we don't get
Oh,
it.
okay, let me go over that. I don't
Sorry,
even-
not my generation.
I'm sorry. Oh, come on. We don't need to get up. Okay, so Twitter. It's just a way to. How can I explain Twitter? It's just social media,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, it
So you can put
at.
you can write at whoever you think it would be. It could be Deanne, it could be Brian, anyone. It could be me, whoever you want, or someone in general, like at Dr. Tony Evers, like it could be whatever. Wisconsin Task Force.
So really, you don't have to say anything, it's just responsible.
Yes, and you can use hashtags. Yes. So I used to think, now I think.
Hashtag 20,000 steps today.
Hashtag my legs are gonna fall off.